Renee Good, the 37-year-old woman shot and killed by an ICE officer in Minneapolis, was hit multiple times, including in the chest and possibly the head, according to a report by the city's fire department. The incident triggered a wave of unrest and heated debate over whether the officer was acting in self-defense. President Trump is now threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, which would allow him to deploy U.S. troops to Minnesota. With nearly 3,000 federal agents already on the ground, the political fallout is escalating. Here now to discuss, CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody and Nathan Gonzales, editor and publisher of Inside Elections and a Faith Nation contributor. Gentlemen, welcome. So let's start there with what's new, and that is, it appears Renee Good was shot multiple times. Nathan, does this change anything, and do you think it could escalate the situation on the ground in Minneapolis even further?
I don't think those specifics really change anything. I think that the shooting and the killing of Renee Good, most people have made up their mind about kind of which side they're going to take on that. I think part of the frustration or tension that we're seeing is the difference between how law enforcement is treated, right? In one case, law enforcement, if you mistreat law enforcement, you might be shot, you might be fatally shot. In other cases, if you mistreat law enforcement, you might be pardoned by the president. And that is part of the tension that we continue to feel in this situation.
David, this week, Minnesota Governor Walz, he made what he called a direct appeal to President Trump, urging him to turn down the temperature. Your thoughts on that, David, and some of the other comments that Walz made that kind of juxtapose that, many actually accusing him of really inflaming the situation.
Yeah, I'm glad you used the word juxtapose. My goodness. I mean, talk about hypocrisy. He wants President Trump to turn down the temperature, and he's the guy calling ICE Gestapo. I mean, really? The Gestapo? I mean, this is the type of rhetoric that's going on from literally leaders there in Minnesota. So look, I think this is a cauldron that's just going to get worse, quite frankly. I hate to say that. I'm a half-full guy, but my analysis here is that I think it is going to get worse. And why? Because I think ultimately President Trump is going to go forward with that Insurrection Act. And what does that mean exactly? We were here, the Insurrection Act. And just so for everybody at home to understand, we're talking about the U.S. active military arresting United States citizens on the streets of an American city. I mean, shall we go back to Birmingham in 1957? I mean, this is for the history books, everybody. This is a big deal. Well, I don't think he's going to turn back. And the reason he's not going to turn back is because the folks in Minnesota aren't going to turn back. As much as Tim Walz says, let's lower the temperature, that they have escalated this every single step of the way. And I'm not sure that's going to change at this point.
David, you mentioned the Insurrection Act. Some Republican senators are trying to sort of pump the brakes on that. And now there's some polling that shows more Americans view the ICE shooting in Minneapolis as unjustified rather than justified. David, is this politically a little bit risky for the president in a political sense?
The visuals have not been good, to say the least, for the White House. The PR aspect of this, and politically as well, from a polling standpoint, won't be good at all. I mean, you see people getting dragged out of their car. We saw that woman a few days ago getting dragged out of her car. But if you actually do the full research on her, she said she was just going to a doctor appointment. It turns out she's been with Black Lives Matters for 10 years, some other progressive groups. She's been part of the pro-Palestinian causes, and she wouldn't get out of her vehicle she was told to move the vehicle forward, and she wouldn't do that. She just stayed there. So this idea that she was going to a doctor's appointment, it seems sketchy to me, considering her past history in terms of being an activist for many of these causes. My point of telling you all of that is that sometimes people just see the visuals and go, oh, that's horrible. And that's where the PR problem comes in for the White House.
Yeah, and it is illegal to harass or impede federal law enforcement. All right, guys, let's shift gears and talk about health care. President Trump announcing this week an outline of a health care plan that he would like to see Congress consider. One of the big components is to send money directly to Americans for their health savings accounts and let them decide kind of how to cover insurance, how to pay for their health care. Trump's plan also focuses on lowering drug prices and requiring insurance companies to be more upfront about the costs and other things. Nathan, do you think this goes anywhere?
Well, it would be hard for it to go anywhere because right now that it's more of a broad framework, actually, which is what Dr. Oz, who's in control, who is in charge of Medicaid and Medicare under the administration, he's called it more of a broad framework because it is not tied to a specific piece of legislation, right? This plan is not something that is waiting specifically on Capitol Hill for members to vote on, right? It's sort of what the president wants to accomplish. And I think there are things in there that could get support, but it doesn't address the premium hikes that are coming because of the ACA subsidies expiring. So we'll see that is going to happen unless something intervenes in the meantime. But one thing on the prescription drugs that the president has talked about and is in the official plan that the White House put out, he's talked about reducing the price of prescription drugs by 300, 400, or 500%. Now, I'm not a math major, but that is not a thing. If you reduce the price of something by 400 or 500%, that means you are paying people to take prescription drugs. And I think that could be wildly popular, but I'm just not sure that's really, the White House and the president are making promises that are going to be, I think, difficult or not really going to happen.
Yeah. David, your thoughts on what we've seen from the president and healthcare and, all of this really coming before, of course, the midterms in November.
Well, the devil are in the details, and we don't have any details, so we don't know if it's an angel or a devil situation, if you will. And as for the midterms, yeah, Jenna, I'm glad you mentioned that because for something like this, this is called a heavy lift, if you will. And for this to get done in a midterm, look, this plan that the White House came out with now should have been done a year ago. Now, I understand they wanted to do the big, beautiful bill. They had other things to get going. But you got to at least start the ball in motion a year ago. You're going to start the ball in motion now and have Congress try to pass this in a midterm year election or a year for midterms. I'm not sure that's going to happen at all. By the way, on a separate note, they should probably call it the Great American Healthcare Act. That would be GAHA. I think that'd be appropriate.
Yeah, be consistent with the marketing.
That's right.
So you guys, Tuesday actually marks 1 year for President Trump's second term in office. There's some polling from AP NORC that shows Americans disappointed about the economy under Trump in the second term. Just 16% of Republicans say Trump has helped a lot in addressing the cost of living. That's down from 49% back in 2024 when another AP NORC poll asked the same question about his first term. Nathan, how serious is this for the president as we do look toward the midterms?
I mean, it's serious. I mean, the president is in a rough political standing right now. Broadly, his job approval rating, more people disapprove than approve on specific issues, the economy, cost of living that you talked about, the direction of the country. People don't think the direction of the country is we're headed in the right direction. And that matters when we head into a midterm, because if people don't like the job the president is doing or don't feel like the country is headed in the right direction when Republicans are in control, then they're going to be looking for change, right? They're going to be looking for either the other party to come in and try to make some changes or to rein in the president if they think the president isn't doing the right thing. And so that is the concern, even though the president isn't on the ballot, that this is really a referendum on him and the direction of the country.
Yeah, historically that is the case. It's the referendum on the party in the White House. All right, David and Nathan, thank you. Have a great weekend.